Hey, dude.
Malik,
how's it going?
Forte, I'm Sean, Astin. Thank you for letting me come and hang out at Nerdist Play. Is that where I am?
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming and hanging out, man.
That's your show?
Yeah. That's my show. It's my soapbox, so to speak.
How long you had the show?
We've been doing it for, we're going on a year. It's been a year. What the heck?
A year in podcast life. Is it a podcast? Is that what?
No, it's a weekly show that we post on Nerdist.com. It goes up on YouTube as well.
What is the Nerdist?
We are a nerd culture hub that basically celebrates and talks about things that people are passionate about in the nerdverse. So like movies, television, comic books. If there's a fan base out there for it, more than likely there's somebody in the office who's a fan of it, and we like to talk about these things.
When did video games become a good, a thing that it's okay to talk about in public, even among the nerd culture?
Oh man, that's a good question. When did we hit that stride? I don't know. I would say probably like in the beginning of the PlayStation 2 era, because that was the highest selling console of all time.
Game theory kind of started. People started analyzing the different. There was enough to weigh the pros and the cons.
Well, then you started seeing pop culture icons show up in video game ads. And let's go back to Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the first one, when the game really started getting popular. Their marketing campaigns were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
They would bring in like NBA stars and movie stars, and people would watch these commercials and be like, I gotta try this game. Mm-hmm. And then they try it, and it was actually a good game. So that gave them more reason.
It's almost a history lesson too. It wasn't just a game. There's a lot going on.
It was a cultural phenomenon.
It blows my mind that there's a career in video game journalism, video game enthusiasm. You're playing it. That's what makes you an expert. But tell me what a career looks like.
For me, it was pretty much started the YouTube channel. People were watching. I got really interested in just the whole industry because I always read like GamePro. I always knew about E3 and things of that nature.
Tell me that GamePro. Where else do you get your when you turn on your computer or you look at your phone and you're thinking like, what am I going to do this week to do my job? What are you looking at?
Now when I turn on, I look at my email. I get lots of press releases and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the internet though, message boards are like the hub for a lot of the hardcore gaming enthusiasts.
Okay, so older people are freaked out. Not all older people, but it's not a rare thing to talk to somebody in their 40s, 50s, and above about the world, and who have, if they were to look at a cross section of your brain, it'd just be like, whoa, I don't even know what to do. How would you invite them into this world? I'd
be like, hey, video games can be a fun art form, and they can be fun entertainment. It was even though my mom put the game system in front of me, she never was big into it. It was kind of hard for me to sell her on like the how entertaining games can be, even for people who aren't playing them. So when I went back home for Christmas break last year, I introduced her to this game called The Last of Us. And I played through the entire game. And it was funny because she had never sat down and watched me play through like a story-based game. I sat down, played through the entire campaign, and like I got halfway through and it was getting dark and I was gonna sleep, so I was like, Mom, I want to stop. She's like, you're stopping? Really? Okay. And then the next day she hassled me to get back on, but she wanted to see the story play out. So I think she, started to really understand how viable video games can be as an entertainment platform. And it was just as fun for me playing it as it was for her watching it. So, and I would invite any older person in by just like showing them a game like that. They're like, hey, this is an art form. This is just like watching a movie. It's just, I took time to like kind of explore the atmosphere. So I would show my mom like, hey, look at how they designed like this blade of grass. It's pretty realistic, isn't it? She'd be like, yeah, it's pretty amazing how realistic that looks. And kind of showing her like the little intricacies about the game made her appreciate it more.
What does video game community look like right now? What does the culture look like?
It's very massive, and it's got many different subcultures within it. So right now it's kind of hard to say, like, you have your big first-person shooter guys, and that's even got subcultures because there's people who are more focused on the competitive side of things, and then there are people who like games like BioShock, who like the cinematic, story-driven first-person shooters. There are Borderlands fans, people who play like co-op games like that. Really, it just comes down to like people finding who they identify with most as a community and just kind of sticking with them. That's like with Nerdist, we're kind of like, we have like our own little pocket of, our own little community, and it's really tough though, because like you'll see things on TV, like for instance, there'll be something on CNN where they're talking about gamers and the game community and this and that, and it's kind of like, how can you say that about the whole game community?
They violence is a zero-sum game. It's either games are good for you or they're bad for you, and they don't have the complexity in there.
Right. It's like, no, it's vast. Like this, you can't really put it in a box.
Is the video game community publishing anything that non-video game folks, you know what I mean? If I'm walking to the airport and I see Time, Newsweek, the Guns and Ammo, whatever, I know I can find my video game thing, and it's only the video talking to themselves. Is there any way in which it's obviously the money, when there's such huge money at stake, people sort of take notice of that? Is there anywhere else that you can,
Well, I mean, you see Game Informer, but honestly, video games, they don't need to have their own publication, and you're starting to see them. Destiny was on the front cover of Time magazine, and to me, that's just kind of indicative of the fact that games can be anywhere. It's just like music; it's its own thing, and it's right now. Game is trying to find its identity, as to what it means to like everyone else, but it is finding its identity.
So there's these schools, like, big video game design schools, New York Film School, LA Film School. They have. What do you think of? Have you been over and seen any of those outfits and how they work?
I think all schools are starting to do video game development programs now. That's something that you're starting to see everywhere. I mean, it's a business, so people can make careers out of video games now just by making them. So they go to school for it, and that's something that was bound to happen. What's crazy to me now though is they're actually starting to give out scholarships for things like that, and they're actually starting to give out scholarships for things like playing video games competitively.
Why do they do that? Because people will watch them, they can sell ad space.
Well, yeah, people are watching these guys make millions of dollars who play video games, who become cyber athletes.
They're athletes, yeah.
Yeah, they're adding video games to their athletic programs now.
Do you pay close attention to the voiceover? I'm scared to ask this right now because I do like voiceovers for different video games and things.
Oh, yeah.
Do you pay attention to who they are?
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
Pros and cons?
It depends. In some games, I won't think about it. In others, I will. To give you a good example, Metal Gear Solid 5. The Metal Gear Solid franchise, they've always had David Hayter playing Solid Snake throughout the entire series. And the most recent game, David Hayter's not voicing that character. It's strange how you get used to a character in their voice, and then just like that, it's hard for me to play the game.
Sometimes you think people are miscast for it. Like you'll play a game and you'll think that's when I go and we're doing voices. You sit behind the monitor. Usually the first 20 minutes of the first day is the gnarliest because I did. And it's the same thing with animation. You do something for a kids show, and hey, you kind of want to talk a little bit higher or something like that. And if you can't do it right, you're thinking, is this gonna fit?
Right.
Have you watched games where the voice didn't seem to fit, and you're like, wow, that's distracting from this game?
Yeah. No, normally if that happens though, if the game is fun, I'll just make fun of the voice, or I'll make light of it and just keep playing the game. But it definitely is noticeable when something isn't fitting right.
What do you want your impact to be? And Nerdist impact. What do you want the value to be to the consumer?
I want people to play video games that they enjoy, and to enjoy video games, and to be able to experience video games and realize and just kind of take every piece of a video game into consideration. To kind of get the full grasp of what a video game is, and what the developer intended to do when they made the game. When you sit back and you kind of think about the thought process of they were thinking about something pretty funny when they put this here in this game. It's an amazing thing.
Sweet, man.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.